Oh, yeah.
Are we gonna go? Oh, sorry. That's gonna do everything. I think you probably want this guy. Missing half the stage. Isn't there? There's another one that's on the right side. There we go. That's it.
I'd like to call the meeting to order. Will we all stand for the pledge? Can we remain standing just for another few seconds, please? We want to have a moment of silence for Selene Alvarez, an 11th grade student, passed away just a short time ago. So we keep her in our prayers and thoughts. Thank you, everyone. We have the roll call, please.
Mr. Fernandez, Mrs. Gatti, Mr. Kraus, Mr. Masiello, Mrs. Romano, Mrs. Zillby.
Can I have a motion for the acceptance of the agenda, please? Mr. Fernandez, seconded by Mrs. Gatti. All in favor? Aye. Discussion? Any opposed? Motion passes 6-0. Board member reports.
Yes, Mr. Masiello, I know we have students waiting. I'll make this as quick as possible. If I read it in Spanish, it'll be even quicker. But there's a lot of highlights here in our district that we want to know, positive happenings. This past Saturday, North Rockland's junior ROTC drill team, commanded by Cadet Janelle Slade, won first of 11 teams at the Washington drill meet. This included first in new cadet drill, commanded by Brian Rivera, first in unarmed squad, commanded by Brandon Salvador, second in armed squad, commanded by Nick Morgis, second in armed platoon, commanded by Carlos Rivera. This past Sunday, the girls volleyball team came in second place in the sectionals, losing a close 5-set match to varsity. This past Saturday, girls cross country won the section championship. Haley Morales came in second place. Girls swimming won the section 200 IM and relay and will be going to the States. Lauren Almar is the section champ in backstroke and will be competing in 3 events at States. Daniel Shepard came in second place in boys cross country. Come out and see the final weekend of the North Rockland High School Drama Society's production of Hamlet on Thursday, November 8th, Friday, November 9th, and Saturday, November 10th at 7 p.m. at the high school auditorium. Tomorrow, North Rockland High School will be hosting a financial aid night from 5 p.m. to 6 p.m. in the main cafeteria. The guest speaker is Dan Robinson from Pace University. In observance of Veterans Day, all North Rockland schools will be closed on Monday, November 12th. We thank all our veterans for their service. Any veterans in the audience, raise your hand. Okay. We thank those that all that have served. And all North Rockland schools will be closed Thursday and Friday, November 22nd and 23rd for the Thanksgiving holiday. Remember, we have a district website where you can see this agenda that we have in front of us. It's up there if you go on the district website, it's on the Board of Education board docs. You can see all this. Each school has their own websites. We're also on Facebook and Twitter, so there's all kinds of communication out there. And on behalf of the entire Board of Education, we wish all of you and your families a very happy Thanksgiving. That's all I have, Mr. President.
Thank you, Mr. Fernandez. Does any other board members have a report? Mrs. Romano. Just turn it on.
Okay. I know Mr. Fernandez mentioned Hamlet is going to be at the high school again Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. I had the pleasure of seeing it on Friday night, and I have to tell you, I am always amazed at the quality of performers that we have in our district. With from every part of that show, from the set is just beautiful, and the lighting and the sound is all so professionally done, and it's all done by the students of North Rockland High School. And as many shows as I've seen, and I've seen an awful lot of shows at North Rockland High School, I'm completely blown away by the cast of this particular show. It's Hamlet, so it's very wordy, and they're doing this in Old English, and every single solitary performer on that stage was spot on. So I know it's long and it is wordy, but I really encourage you to go and see it. Take your kids to go and see it. It's just an incredible piece of theater, and we're so fortunate to have it right here in our backyards with our kids. So I know that there's Thursday night is student buy one, get one free. Come in and take your family, take your kids. You'll be happy that you did.
Thank you, Mrs. Romano. We're about to have 3 different presentations and recognitions. I just want to first thank the audience for coming. You're in for a treat, and we're going to go forward with our first presentation. Mrs. Ashley.
Our board members, for those that might not know, are volunteers, and they give up so much of their time. It's not just the 2 meetings a month, but they get a packet every Friday. So the young people in the audience, these people get homework every Friday, imagine that. And beyond that, they give up so much of their time to be educated on school issues. They go to conferences to learn, they come back, bring ideas, bring information back. Many of them are involved in lobbying efforts in Albany and Washington. The amount of time that they give away from their families and of their own time is just unbelievable. We're so fortunate in our community that we have 6 stellar people that represent you and your children on this board. It's not always like that in every community, but we're very blessed to have stability and to have just sensible people that are dedicated to the well-being and education of all children. So what better way to recognize you and to thank you for your work than with our children, because there is no better way. And I think we have quite an array representation of all our schools behind you. And I'm going to turn it over to our music coordinator, Virginia Salado, to introduce what you're about to hear.
Good evening, everyone, and thank you for being here. I'd like to introduce Mrs. Fawn Fleissig, our chorus teacher at Stony Point Elementary. She'll tell you a little bit more today. I'd also like to thank all of our elementary and choral teachers, Mrs. Fleissig, Ms. Sharp, Mr. LeConte, Mr. Block, Ms. Margiasso, Ms. Banky, Mrs. Latimer, and Ms. Santillo.
Good evening. On behalf of the music department, we would like to acknowledge and recognize all the hard work of our Board of Education. We have representation from every one of our 8 schools this evening, musicians from every one of our 8 schools singing to celebrate and thank you. So enjoy.
Thank you very much. And young ladies and boys, they say third time is a charm. And that's an example of what third time a charm means. You guys did it perfectly. And thank you to Jen Banky for coming on the piano. And great job, everyone. All of our meetings are exciting like this, so I invite you all to come to all of our meetings and feel stuff.
Again, thank you all for coming out and sharing your children with us. And now if I could ask Ida Lanini from the PTA Council to come up and say a few words.
You're laughing at me. No chocolate this year. Sorry, but I wanted to say thank you again. You guys are amazing, and it's a great honor to work with all of you and administration, because we all work together and it's for a good cause, and North Rockland is a great place to live and raise your children. Here's a little something from us, but thank you so much.
Thank you, Ida. We're very happy to accept this, even though it's not chocolate. And thank you for supporting us.
Now I'll ask Mary Esposito, the president of the Administrators Association, and Jeannie Hurley, if they would like to come up. Debbie sends her regrets, she couldn't be here tonight.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you for everything you do, and on behalf of the North Rockland Administrators Association, the North Rockland Teachers Association, and the CSEA, we thank you for your dedication to our students of our district. We thank you on behalf of all of our members for your dedicated service and your respectful and collaborative partnership with all of us. We congratulate and honor all of you for serving the children of North Rockland. It's a great place to live, to learn, to work, to be with people who care about kids. So thank you so much. As a token for our appreciation, the three associations have gotten together to form a scholarship for a graduating senior in your honor. So a deserving senior will be honored with a scholarship on your behalf. So thank you very much.
And we also have a token of our appreciation on behalf of all the 8,000, or actually 8,100 students this year. So we will be giving that out, and what's in the box, as usual, Karen Bauman has come through with something very special for all of you to commemorate the 60th anniversary of the consolidation of our district. So we hope you enjoy that. So if you guys wouldn't mind giving that out. We also have a certificate for you, and we also have the conference certificate. As you know, NISBA prints a certificate for all attendees, so I took the liberty of printing that and giving that to you as well.
Mrs. Eckert and our assistant superintendents. Thank you. On behalf of myself and the entire board, we're very appreciative of these gifts and these welcomes, and from the unions as well, and the PTA. It makes the job go easier when we have all of you behind us to support us. So we all thank you very much. I can't wait to open up the gifts, but I'll wait till I get home. So I just want to deep gratitude and thanks again for everything.
And in your honor, we waited for this month to have this presentation as well, because it's something that we're all very proud of, something that was innovative and new this summer, which was our own summer camp. And I'm going to turn it over to Dr. Felicello to do the presentation. We've been wanting to do this since the summer, but we were so excited about the opportunity and just the feedback that we have all received from parents and students that participated, and we thought it would be a nice uplifting presentation to do for board recognition night. So, Chris.
So as Mrs. Eckert said, we've been really excited to highlight this program, and really there were a lot of people involved in making this a reality, a lot of administrators and teachers and students, and we're really proud of what came out of it and what our final product was. And we call it Camp Adventure, and so Roth actually came up with that name, and we liked it. But it's kind of, where did this come from? Where did this idea come from? What was the inspiration for it? And very surprising, and I think you guys will be very surprised when you see who was the person that really was instrumental in this, the inspiration, and that was Mr. Johnson. And it's funny because not this summer, the summer, and I tried to pick the worst picture I could find of him, hoping that maybe he'll see it or something. And, Roe King sent it to me, and she's like, "It's not a very good picture." I said, "Even better." I like it. He came to me, not this summer, but the summer before, and he was very excited because NYSER, which is our insurance company that he works for, and he's no longer with us, but he obtained a scholarship for me to attend Harvard University. And I got to go to Harvard and go to this conference. It was a 2-day conference. We could stay on the campus. We got to eat in the facilities, and best of all, learn from the professors at Harvard. And I even got a hat I wear all the time when people see me. "Oh, you went to Harvard?" I said, "Yeah, I was there." It was the SAT was close between that and Cortland, but I went with Cortland instead. But this is Dr. Paul Ravel, who was one of the professors there that spoke to me that really kind of sparked some of the ideas where this came from. And he presented some pretty interesting data. And one of the things that he spoke about, he talked about, I don't know if anybody's heard of this, but it's the 30 million word gap. And there's a study done where students or children who are living in poverty are exposed to 30 million less words by the time they get to kindergarten. Us, students that are living in middle class and upper middle class homes. And what that does is it affects all sorts of things with students and their learning, their ability to read, their ability to have background knowledge. So it's a major concern. And he says, public schools in general, why do we have this achievement gap? Why is there this achievement gap between some of our students that come from poorer families and our middle class students or students from more affluent homes? And he says, we do a good job of kind of getting them caught up initially, and they catch up. But what happens is every summer, students will continue to grow, while other students will slide back, not only not grow in their academic achievement, but slide back. And he pointed to several things, the conversations with adults, the enrichment opportunities, going to vacations and having those conversations in the car, and going to museums. And too many museums, but I try. I want to do the museum thing. But and just even those conversations, the books in the home, all of these things that happen. And then he talked about Malcolm Gladwell, who happens to be, one of my favorite authors. He's got a great podcast. Listen to this book he wrote, Outliers, who I read years and years ago. But he reminded me, and I kind of forgot that in Outliers, he says we don't have an achievement gap in public education. We have a summer issue. We don't have an achievement issue, with a summer issue, because every year in schools we are playing catch up because of that summer slot. And Ravel talked about a lot of different ways to address this with community schools and offering different things, but also kind of started getting some ideas. How can we do things differently? Because the first thing that pops in my mind, we're going to do summer school. We're going to keep these kids here. We're going to make them read. We're going to make them do school. And if something isn't working or students struggle in certain situations, do more and more and more and more of the same result. It doesn't get you different results. So I started thinking and saying, all right, what can we do? What can we do? And what I did was I said, well, let me talk to the room, so to speak, or my team, because as the expression goes, the smartest person in the room is the room. And I brought it to the administrative team and said, what can we do? What can we come up with? And we brainstormed, and we had all of our elementary principals. We had Sarah Sorensen, we had Vicky Lopez, and we kind of started formulating this idea about a summer camp program, summer enrichment program, where it would certainly have an academic focus, but it wouldn't be school, it wouldn't be periods. And I remember talking to Mr. Roth, and he felt really strongly that students should be dedicated to one strand, really have some in-depth learning that strand. Didn't want it to look anything like a school experience, but more like a camp experience that some students may not have the opportunity to experience otherwise. So, as we started to come up with great ideas and really fleshing out the details, we had a couple of issues. One was, how are we going to pay for this? And where's the money going to come from? And, luckily we had Sarah and Nikki in the room who were able to reallocate some of our Untitled grant money. And, money that is earmarked for students in poverty, that is earmarked for preventing students from becoming classified students or becoming special education students. And we're able to kind of put this money source together and to support this program. So, and then our next problem was we needed leadership for the program. So we had, we put green sheets out for teachers, and we called them counselors and assistant counselors. We had a great response. And then we needed somebody in charge of the program who was going to run the program. And nobody put in for to be the head of the program initially. So I remember, it's kind of, boy, what are we going to do? And, I talked to Mike and said, oh, you don't have anybody to do this, what are we going to do? And he said, well, I think I can step up and I can take some of the leadership in this, but I need some help. I need somebody else because, I'm going to need to take some time for my family this summer and not use all my vacation days and such. And we brainstormed and thought that Amanda Allen would be great. She's really a budding leader in our district. I thought she would be wonderful. So kind of said, hey, Amanda, how would you like to do this? And she stepped up. And then with Mike and Amanda, that leadership team and all the different ideas that we talked about, that vision came into reality. And they came up with a program that was way better than we even imagined and way better than what we had originally pictured. And now they're already coming up with ideas on how to make this just become part of the fabric of what we do in North Rock, and that's what we do every year. How do we expand it? So without further ado, these are the guys that did all the work. I'm going to have them come up and talk to you a little bit about this program and what it ended up looking like.
Thank you, Dr. Filicello, and good evening, everyone, and congratulations. We do want to thank you for all the work that you do. We know how important that is. We know how important it is. And part of the reason we know it's important is because what we saw happen last summer. If you notice, just quick review of what Dr. Fellow said, we were really looking at a few areas. We were looking to counteract that summer slide with whatever we did. We wanted to provide something that wasn't a school, but it was a hands-on experience. We want to kind of therefore flip the script, so to speak, on learning and make learning an outgrowth of natural activity that we would want students to be experiencing anyway. And those experiences would be authentic. It would be something they would really be doing, not just watching or not just reading about, but things that they were actually doing. So, quick timeline to give you an idea of how this started. After those talks and discussions that Dr. Filicello was relaying to you, we met with the K-6 admins and Sarah and Mickey and kind of got some ideas together. We determined that we wanted to have students focus on one of 6 interest strands, which we're going to share with you in just a moment. Then around April, we kind of finalized all those details. There was a lot of things that happened in between December and April, just to make sure that we were going in the right direction, kind of self-reflection with the group, with the K-6 admins, constantly going back to them and saying, what do you think of this? What seems to make sense and ring true and what doesn't? And then, of course, Amanda and I were interviewing staff along the same timeline at that point. In May, we met with that staff. We started to meet with them. We had a series of meetings, actually, to kind of develop them and see where they wanted to go with their individual strands. We also interviewed junior counselors. These were students that we gleaned from a high school that also we felt could benefit, number one, from the experience of being leaders in training, so to speak, but on top of that, would bring kind of a different perspective to the group, and they really did. That was such a wonderful group of students. We don't have enough time to talk about that this evening. And then we, of course, were identifying campers in each of our 6 buildings, entering 3rd through 6th grade. So we had actually 4 levels of students in 2 levels of camp. So entering 3rd and 4th, we're in one level, and entering 5th and 6th, we're in the other level. And then finally in June, we let those campers know through their buildings who was going to be invited to camp, and we met with the counselors and assistant counselors about finalizing plans. So that's kind of just an overall timeline of how things went, leading from the initial discussions in December with Dr. Filicello through the end of June, getting ready for camp. Here are a few stats for you just in terms of what we saw at the camp. We ended up with 239. Our goal was 250. We had some students, of course, that couldn't do it at the last minute, so we ended up with 239 actual students. We ran the camp for 2 weeks in July. We had 14 groups, 7 3rd and 4th, 7 5th and 6th. The ratio of camper to counselor was 1 to 11. So it really was focused on those students. We wanted to see what we could do for them and with them that would be different. And I think you'll see that that was achieved. We had 90% daily attendance in the summer. And you should know that, and it's not in the PowerPoint, you should know that we provided transportation both ways. We provided transportation for the field trips, of course, and we also provided breakfast and lunch, which was a whole other level that when we had initial discussions we didn't think about, but Dr. Filicello pointing out so wisely that really, food's at the center of everything. We all know that. So that really worked with our students as well. They really looked forward to that time together, almost like a family. It really was almost like a family eating together. So here are the 6 interest strands we came up with that the students all had experience in. And again, each student was in one interest strand in the summer. They stayed with that strand to kind of do a deep dive in that area for 2 weeks. We had athletics. We had STEM and robotics. And these pictures, by the way, are our students. These are not stock photos. These are our children that were at the camp, thanks to Amanda. We had culinary and agriculture, and I want to stop just there for a second and say we coordinated a program both with the Rockland Farm Alliance, with the Cropsey Farm in New City, and also with Cornell Cooperative Extension across the street. So both groups came to camp and worked with our kids, and our kids also had the opportunity in that strand to go to New City and actually work on the farm twice. So that was really exciting. And of course, they also planted a garden, our own. Man, and I got to check out the cucumbers just a couple of weeks ago that were still growing. We had a drama and music piece. I can't be without that, you know that. We had arts and crafts, and we kind of focused on digital arts as part of that. It wasn't the whole strand, but they did spend a good deal of time on computer as well as doing more traditional crafts, although I don't know what we ended up with was really traditional, was really wonderful and innovative. And of course, we did a project adventure. Part of the lead up to the camp was that we rehabilitated some equipment that we had up in the woods behind my school, Willow Grove Elementary School, that was based in Project Adventure. And students were able to actually use that equipment as part of this as well. We're looking to expand that, of course, because we got so much out of that. Their day looked like this in general. They had the breakfast and some time together that I mentioned before. They had 2 hours of experience and interaction within their strand of interest. They had an hour of lunch and recess. They had 2 more hours in that strand. And then they also, somewhere in that day, they had 20 minutes of mindfulness. Another big piece of the program that we put in that was really kind of an outgrowth of some of the things that are going on in our buildings that you already know about. And that was so interesting, except for the fact that they took all their sneakers off at the same time. That was a little difficult in the hallway. People would walk and go. But other than that, the mindfulness thing was awesome. And you can see some of the things that were going on a little bit of these pictures in that room with mindfulness. We had so many students in our survey, which Amanda's going to talk about in a minute. So many of our students mentioned the importance of their experience in mindfulness in the survey. It was quite surprising to all of us, and really, it said a lot about what we're doing, that we're doing right. And finally, we had a field trip. In addition to what we mentioned with agriculture and culinary, we also had a field trip for the entire camp. All the counselors, all of the attendees went to the Liberty Science Center. And I have to tell you one anecdote about this before I have Amanda come up and talk about those surveys. When we took the trip down there, we were on 7 buses. We're driving down the road leading to Liberty State Park. And there was a point where on the road, we came over a rise, and to the right of the buses, there was a clear shot view of the Statue of Liberty. And all of the kids on the buses, all 7, ran to the other side, the right side of the bus, to get a glimpse of the Statue of Liberty, because most of them had never seen it. And their response to the Statue of Liberty meant a lot. Especially on a day like today, when we're talking about this, and it's election day, there's a lot of meaning there that we could talk much more about, which we'll leave for today. But this meant we were doing something right when they were reacting to the experiences they were having that we were providing that none of them had had before. Something as simple as a live view of the Statue of Liberty. Amanda will talk a little bit about our survey results.
Good evening, everyone. So very quickly, I'm just going to go back to the Liberty Science Center because my favorite moment of the whole 2 weeks occurred during that day. We had the kids participate in the IMAX theater. I don't know if you've ever been there, but it's like a huge dome and it's such a steep staircase. And the kids were amazed when they walked in. And then, I sat down with a bunch of kids and they tell us to put your phones away and more pictures. So I put my phone away reluctantly. And once the presentation started, I didn't look at the screen, I looked at the kids because their eyes were open and mouths were dropped and they were just in awe. So it was really it was such a breathtaking moment for me. You have to kind of take my word for it because I couldn't take a picture. But it really, hands down, was my favorite moment of the whole 2 weeks. It was really special. So we wanted to survey all the kids. We wanted to hear what they thought about it. And we also actually surveyed parents after the showcase. The last day we did have a parent showcase where we invited parents in. So we tried to get some of their feedback there. And we also surveyed all staff members. And we received overwhelmingly positive feedback. So we had 92% of students that said, not 100, but 92% that said that they like coming to camp each day, and 93% enjoyed the strand they're in. Now, when I looked back at some of their responses and also talking to the kids, I think some of them either didn't prefer the strand that they liked, although we tried to give them either their first or second choice. Some of them got their third choice. And some of them also had different expectations for their strand. Like, for example, music and drama, some of them thought they were going to come and do dance. So some were a little disappointed with some of the things they ended up doing, but overall, the kids would come off the bus barreling down, bouncing, extremely excited every day. So some of the things that they said was, I really enjoyed the camp because I made new friends, and the camp was super fun, which I thought was really cute. They wanted camp to be longer because the camp was amazing and they wish it was longer. This one was really cute. I love camp. There was a lot of comments like that as well. And then we also asked students if they could do more in school, what they did in camp, what would it be? And a lot of them commented about STEM activities, robotics, coding, Spiros, Legos, some music, singing, performance, and recess. So because they had recess in the morning and recess in the afternoon, a lot of kids commented on the fact that they liked having 2 opportunities to play during the day. So we had 34 parents complete the survey. We had the survey available in English and Spanish for parents to complete after the showcase. And 91% said that their child had a great experience. Again, those that did not say that their child had a great experience, some of them said that they wish their child had 2 strands, so they could go to one in the morning and one in the afternoon, or that they said that their child didn't particularly love the strand they were in. 100%, this is not surprising, wish that camp was longer. And this is a comment that kind of goes along with it. They wanted it longer, they wanted the child to have more experience. The child was sad that it ended early. This I thought was very sweet. My child had an amazing time. He learned so much and was so eager to come to camp every day. I had spoken to a parent after the showcase, and she said, you know, my child would wake up before I would even go in his room, get him up, he'd be up and dressed and ready for camp every morning. Another parent had said her daughter was in the drama and music strand, and she said that for that last week, she would come home and practice her lines for hours because they were putting on a play. They did a Little Mermaid for the parents. And she said, I can't even get her to do her homework. But here she was, and in the summer, on a beautiful day, she was inside practicing, her lines for the show because she wanted to be prepared. So I thought that was really wonderful. And here's a comment about having 2 different strands. The students said that, and the parents did as well. And then we also had a parent that commented how the child was very, grateful, and they did have words to express their gratitude. So that was really wonderful as well. Oh, the kids also, by the way, I forgot to mention the student survey. A lot of kids wanted a pool. So that was interesting. They thought they were going to come to camp, and they wanted a pool to go with it. So that was kind of funny. So for the staff, we had 21 staff members that completed the survey. 100% said that they work again next year. And it was very interesting because, conversations I had with the staff, they talked a lot about the sense of fun and excitement and lightness that kind of occurred over those 2 weeks, and that was really something that we were trying to go for. So really happy with, that was the environment and the energy that was created with everyone's hard work. So one staff member said it was an unforgettable experience for the students and teachers. This was really, really powerful. We talked about connecting more with students, which is what we're all about in North Rockland. The importance of hands-on experience, and remembering that our kids don't come with all the same experiences. And then we have to remember that. That's a challenge that we have to kind of encourages us to be innovative and think differently about how we meet our students' needs and kind of close that experiential gap. And we also had a counselor who wrote it in a survey, and then he also spoke to me afterwards, and he said it really was the best experience he had. in North Rockland. And he's been teaching for several years, and he just was thrilled and had said that he really hoped the program would continue on in the future and that he would love to be a part of it. So that was really wonderful to see as well. So in addition to kind of reviewing all of that feedback, the qualitative feedback, we are interested in tracking some data this year. We're going to look at some achievement data. We do have the end of day screener that we can use to kind of track students' progress longitudinally. We also like to see if there was any impact on attendance, as well as behavior, especially since students participated in mindfulness each day. So we're going to be looking at that data as the school year ends and compare and use a lot of this good information to hopefully help us plan if we can, get this going again next year.
And again, these guys did an amazing job in running this and organizing it. As you can see, there's a whole lot of moving parts and all of that. And of course, it would, we wouldn't be able to do that without Mrs. Eckert's support. When I first kind of had this idea and we were talking about it, wanted to get everything together and then present it because Illy always very supportive, but thinks of everything, and I wanted to make sure I had everything lined up before we presented it. It was getting close to that time, and often Mrs. Eckert will give me little articles or send emails of things that she's read, and I don't know if she kind of do all that, but sends it to me and just getting ready to present it. And she sent me an email. It was an article about summer enrichment, about this exact thing. Said, we should really try to do something like this at some point. I'm like, oh, I want this. I have this. I wanted to surprise you with it. And she was, as always, one step ahead. But it was great. And as Amanda and Mike said, some of the unintended consequences where our teachers really saw that you connecting with students in a different way, kind of bring out a different side of a student that may struggle otherwise. It was a great program. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Felicello. It just seems like with all the enthusiasm and success, it's a win-win, and we're very excited about it. And I just want to thank all the staff involved in making the presentation and doing all that hard work. So thank you again.
When you do something new, but this is just a perfect example of what could happen in schools when you take politics out of school and put education programming back in the hands of educators. And I couldn't think of a better example of when you let your creative people go, what could be the outcome for kids, and having the proper support, obviously, and funding to be able to do some of these things. So imagine if we took all those millions of dollars that are invested in standardized testing and put them into summer programs for kids who need it, what could really close that achievement gap?
That's what the speaker yesterday, exactly, was talking about that, what you guys did. Talking about it as something people should look into doing and a new innovative way of educating. You guys already have it done. It's a credit to you, thank you.
And then the other part of it, it's wonderful, and I'd love to see some data on how these kids are progressing in school. But then the other part of that were the student counselors that you had and the experiences that they had. Is STEM something that they want to go into because they enjoyed it, or athletics, but the opportunity that they had to work with children. You might have lit a fire in somebody's thoughts to maybe be a future educator and to have these type of experiences for their own students. So I think that was valuable in so many different ways for our teachers, for our administrators that put this together, for the students that participated in it, and for the students the high school students that actually worked it. I think that it was an incredible experience for them.
I heard a number mention of 250, that was the goal, and we ended up with like 234 or so. Was that the maximum you were able to accommodate, was 250? Okay.
We actually doubled up the STEM, where we hired more staff so that we could double STEM at both levels.
Okay. Well, that was 3 great presentations in a row. Now I want to go to the next item, old business. Is there any old business? Any correspondence? Okay, seeing there's no correspondence, we're going to go into a public comment. Board of Education welcomes public comment from our community. If you wish to address the board, please sign in. If you have not, no one seems to have signed in, so we'll move forward and we're going to have to go into an executive session for reasons of appointments. But before we do, is there anyone here who is here for a reason of appointment in the audience? Okay, so we're going to go into a quick executive session, then we're going to come back out and the meeting will be very short to go through the consent agenda. So may I have a motion, please? Mrs. Zuckerby and Mr. Fernandez, second. Discussion? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? A motion passes 6-0. And we'll be back very shortly, and the meeting will be very shortly after that, so. Thank you. Yeah, if you don't want to stay, when we come back, it's going to be just 30 seconds more. So, if no one's here for the appointment, then by all means. Thank you very much again for coming out tonight.
Thanks, guys. Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Good luck.
Thank you for stepping up. All right.
Oh, my pleasure. It's a labor of love.
It was a great presentation. Thank you, guys. Yes, she is. She's going to outrank Mr. Important. She's so thrilled.
I'm just leaving it with the sentences that that's it. So people really shut down. Works for me. Maybe leave one mic on for him. We could do that. Depending on I'll just leave this for the moment. So I don't know if anybody's gonna come back. Well, I can't really. Shut it down. Shut it down. What if we There's not a lot of people here. What if we just start packing up all the Chromebooks and all that by the time we're there? Yeah, well, I was talking about shutting this down, and then, I mean, I can hang out, because I gotta take the mics back to the. That's the thing. Yeah, I don't want to keep it in my car overnight. Yeah. So, I mean, you can shut it down, and I'll just hang out. Yes. Okay. So I think it's here. What, the end of it? I don't know if it's a requirement, but that's. Yeah. Yeah.
Someone's got to cut the lights
Yeah, everything. Oh, I thought you meant these mics. You wanted that muted?
Yes.
Okay, we're gonna resume the meeting without microphones, so I suppose you can all hear. So thank you for your patience. I know.
Here he comes. Here he comes. He's here.
Here it comes. All right, I'll read this.
Stay there.
Rich, stay there.
Stay there.
We're gonna start the consent agenda. Use of the consent agenda permits the Board of Education to make it more effective by adopting a single motion to cover those relatively routine matters which are included. Any member of the board who wishes to discuss individually a particular piece of business on the consent agenda may so indicate that item, and it will be transferred to the regular agenda for consideration and a separate vote, thus preserving the right of all board members to be heard on any issue. We'll have a motion on. Second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.